Have you ever wondered why it is that you're always fighting fires? It's probably got to do with the fact that you don't or haven't developed the ability to forecast problems before they become emergencies. On today's episode, I'm going to chat with you about how I go about forecasting problems before they become emergencies. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max, I am your host, and I appreciate you lending me your ear. If you're on the podcast and if you're in YouTube land, I appreciate you pulling up a seat and having a look and a lesson, hopefully, or a listen to the lesson. Hopefully it'll be worth your time. Hey, look, we're into a new year. We got some pretty good stats for the podcast, and I just want to give you a quick shout out, quick thank you for sticking with me all through last year. There were some pretty decent stats there. And so, it's a bit of a privilege to be able to sort of serve you in this capacity. So appreciate you hanging in. Now, if you're new and you've only just found the show, found the podcast, then look, I hope I don't disappoint. But if you're in the construction business, I'm sure you'll find the resources in the previous 270 odd podcasts. I'm sure there's something there that's going to help you build a better business, a high performance, highly profitable, kick-ass business, because that's what we do here at Business for Builders. All right, today, before I get onto that, bit of housekeeping. Look, what I do on, obviously for those that know me, I'm a general contractor. If you want to see what I do, okay, so I'm based in Canada. If you want to see what I do, go to smithandsons.ca, right? Don't get it confused with the Aussies and the Kiwis, Canadian, right? If you want to go to smithandsons.ca, that's my website. And all of our socials, I think, are Smith & Sons Coldstream, right? One word, Coldstream. So if you want to keep an eye on what I do in my, let's say, day job, do that. Now, the other side of what I do is I'm a business coach for general contractors and builders. I don't, do business coaching for all businesses. I just stay in my lane. But, it's a pretty hefty investment. Now, I know some business coaches will charge $36,000 a year US, right? That's pretty elite. Okay, what I do is I give a similar service, but for a lot less price, but it's still expensive. So what I'm going to, from this point on, now that I'm a business coach and I can give you one-on-one customized coaching for contractors. Tick. Right. Now, I also offer, you can go on my website, elitebusinessadvisory.com, and you can book a meeting with me for a 30-minute strategy session for no cost, right? Now, we normally talk about what you're doing in your business well and what you're doing not so well, and I try and give you something to take away. It's worthwhile, 30 minutes of my time, and yet, really what I find when I do that with guys and gals, they get out the back of it and they're overwhelmed by the amount of work that's got to happen. So there's a middle step that I want to talk to you about real quick, and I will for the next couple of episodes just to get it into you, is the Contract Academy that's on elitebusinessadvisory.com/academy. Now, there should be a banner down below here. And there should be a link in the bio, but I would encourage you, because I think this is free, right? Happy to do it. Put out a few before we got here today. But what I want to encourage you to do, because everything that we do as general contractors revolves around personal discipline. Now, if you have a business coach, someone like me, that brings accountability. So if we talk about doing something this week and we get to the meeting next week and it's not done, we kind of have a bit of a problem, okay? So, because I don't want you investing in that, if you're going to invest big bucks in coaching, you need to be able to execute. So, what I'd encourage you to do is get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com/academy, and I would encourage you to invest a little bit in yourself and go into that academy and get amongst the resources, get the videos and the spreadsheets and the documents and the ebooks and things that are inside of that. And I want to see if you can do some self-discipline and some self-education and some self-improvement so that in 12 months after you've maybe got through that, you're going to be ready for some official business coaching. And maybe your business has gotten better, which I hope it does, and you can now afford to invest at that level and increase from the Contract Academy. The Academy is $65 US a month, okay? So when you think about it, it's probably 1.5 cases of beer, if you're lucky. Okay, so get across to that, check it out, because it's something that you can prove to yourself that you can educate. Remember, guys and girls, you, me, we did a 4-year apprenticeship as a carpenter. Okay, I did 7 weeks of tech college every year. So I did 28 weeks worth of college. Bored the shit out of me. But anyway, I got through, got my ticket, all good. What I'm saying to you is this is the next level. That was construction, that was technician stuff. What I'm going to talk to you about over here is business development, business management. Okay, understanding financials, understanding how to recruit, understanding where to invest marketing spend, etc. Okay, so go and check that out for me, and give me some feedback. Send me an email, tell me it's a pile of shit. I'll appreciate that, because then I'll improve it. But I don't think it is. It's probably worth about 10 grand. Everything in there, as far as the production and everything in the information, is probably worth about 10 grand. So fill your boots. Right, today, as you can see above my head here, seeing problems before they become emergencies. Now, the beauty about what I do is that I run a general contracting or a residential building company, during the day, as well as doing what I do in the office here and figure it all out. And so there's things that happen in my daily general contractor, builder life that is so relevant to what you're doing right now. Now, that then gives me the ability to sort of think about or, contemplate what went on during the day, and then what can I learn from that? And that automatically gives me content here to chat about. So, I've got 3 dot points on the board here. Detect them early, develop a sixth sense, and support your business growth through the identification of challenges that are on the horizon that are coming down. Okay, so why do we want to detect early the problems in our business? Because emergencies normally come about off the back of we just kind of ignored a little bit of a flag and we thought it'll be right, it'll take care of itself, or I'm not going to pay attention to that, one of the two. Okay, so it's ignored signals more so than, oh, that was a surprise, I didn't know that was coming. Okay, more often than not, that's what happens. Small issues are cheaper to remedy and resolve than when they become an emergency. Okay, so that's the second reason why early problem detection is worthwhile. Preventing emergencies protects your profit, your reputation, and your energy. I just thought of something. What do they say? Oh gosh, I can't remember what it is, but a little bit of that preparation. Prevention's better than cure. I think that's what it's coming down to. And so when you're out there, now here's the challenge that you and I, if I was talking one-on-one to you and you were sort of sharing with me the frustrations of your building company, it all comes down to management. Remember, I talk a lot about, to my EBA clients, is that we want to move. If you and I just start a building company today and we've got the URL and the uniforms and the business cards and the website and the social media and it's all brand new, that's the creation phase, right? You're developing, you've almost not necessarily launched, but you're definitely right at the precipice where you're going to go, right, we're open for business, we're a building company. And that creation phase, it's very exciting. It's almost addictive, right? And so then what happens is you get into business and you drop below the line and all of a sudden you're in a state of chaos because all you've thought about is the setup. You actually haven't thought about the execution. And so a lot of the time when I'm, providing a complimentary coaching session, that 30-minute strategy session that I was talking about, it's a lot of that is around, oh, Max, I need more leads. And so, that makes 100% sense. I get it. My business thrives off a good top of funnel. I need people to talk to. Some leads that come in aren't that good, but then there's a small percentage that are the ones that suit our business. But if I look at that and just go, I'm going to get stuck on leads, what you'll find is you will then forget about lead management. And then you wouldn't have thought about sales process. And that whole pre-construction phase has not been thought out. I sat down with a developer in this town here 2 days ago, and he was pitching me something, and he wanted to do a bit of a joint venture, and he had a bit of an org chart, and it was all about the setup. Oh, I've got a building that I've looked at, and I've looked at that building as well. And the next question I said is, have you got a workflow mapped out. Because we need to think past when the gun goes off and we hit the launch phase. We created, now we're launched. How quickly can we move through the state of chaos and confusion and move into the land of control? Now, if you haven't heard me say before, chaos is a natural byproduct of disorder. All right? And control is a natural byproduct of order. So we're actually looking to create order. That's what we're trying to do. And the byproduct of that, having order in our business and our life, is going to mean we have control. It's funny, I said to one of my clients this week, because we were having a little bit of a intense discussion, and it had to do with a third party. And I made it clear that I needed control in this situation. And in hindsight, probably wasn't an advantageous thing to say to a client because he saw it as that I needed to have world domination, and it was an ego thing. And really what he didn't understand, although he is a very successful business person, what he didn't understand is that I don't need control to have control for control's sake. What control does is it enables me to get the job done the most efficiently that I can, the quickest that I can. And so my view of control is very unemotional. It is actually a destination. Everything that I do, if I have order, I've got control. It's a byproduct. Control is a byproduct. It is not the goal. And yet, the goal is to create order with my business, and that gives me the control, okay? So, I think when we're trying to build a business, and I talk to this with my clients, it's like we've got to stress test the business. So we map out the operation, the workflow, and then we lean on it and we see where it breaks, okay? So that early detection actually enables us to remedy a situation whilst it is just a problem and it's not become an emergency at this point, right? So if we detect it early, we get it before it becomes as a problem, and it's not an emergency. It's not something where the house is burning down, metaphorically speaking. That is. Right. Point number 2 here, develop a sixth sense. Now, this is something I probably first heard about in a business context from Gary Vaynerchuk. He talked a lot about intuition. And I've read the book before called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And just recently, I picked up the audiobook, and interestingly enough, it's been revised, okay? And, in there, John Maxwell talks a lot about intuition. And it's kind of, to me, is that sixth sense. And so, intuition is built from experience plus reflection plus measurement. So think about that for a second. You're 25 years of age, and I'm talking to you about, hey, what you've got to develop is a sixth sense, and you've got to develop intuition. Well, if intuition is created off the back of experience, reflection, and measurement, you can reflect, but if you haven't got experience, what have you got to measure? And so this then, it's like, okay, how do I, if you were to say to me, Max, how do I improve or increase my intuition? And I would say it's through experience. And then off the back of that, you reflect, you measure, and all of a sudden you start picking up what goes on in the marketplace. Now, just because I've got good intuition in the building game, does that give me good intuition in my marriage? Well, I've been married for 30 years. So again, experience, reflection, measurement. I could probably use my intuition in my marriage. If I went to do something brand new, I probably wouldn't have any intuition because I'm still trying to find my way through. And so if you're a young operator in the building game, in the construction industry, you need to recognize where your deficiency is, and that you, as much as you want success yesterday, to develop a sixth sense or intuition, it's going to be over a period of 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it is for you, to figure out or to get comfortable. And I think a lot of it, when we're talking about sixth sense and intuition, and we're talking about when you're going, as it relates to what we do in the building industry, I think you get a feel for it when you go out and see a client. It's just like, there's something there that's just not 100% right. There's something there that just rubs you the wrong way. And so this is why, I think over a period of time, you get to reflect And then all of a sudden, all of those experiences all culminate in some form of measurement if you're acutely aware of what you're doing, right? And so, we're talking about really now it comes down to, on the side, is developing your core values. So we're values driven, but we're values led, but we're purpose driven. It's like, what is it that, how do we go about making our decisions? So one of those is when you go out and see a client, how do I make my decision? First thing, the easiest thing for me to do is, do I like the person? Do I like the job? And are they willing to talk about money? See, a lot of what I say, probably the majority of what I say is either I've heard it or read it, I've picked it off someone else. But there is some things like that, where it's like, do I like the person? Do I like the job? And are they willing to talk about money? That I haven't read. That's mine. I come up with that because in my mind, I thought to myself one day, what is it that makes me happy when I go out and do that initial visit? What is it that would make me happy about a meeting? And whether or not I want to take that opportunity any further. And it was those three things. Do I like the human? Do I like the job? And are they willing to talk about money? Okay, so that's this sixth sense, this intuition, super important, because I know if I go to a meeting and I don't really like the job, I've already got one foot out the door. So I'm just looking at how I can nicely, graciously, respectfully, basically tell them that this is probably not a job for us. If I haven't already figured that out on the phone. We had an inquiry online the other day, and I dealt with that pretty quick. It was a mobile home. And so rather than just go, sorry, we don't do it, I said to him, look, as far as I can tell off the photos you've submitted, this is probably going to be $13,000 to $20,000 worth of work. And he told me abruptly that was way out of his budget, and I wished him well. The end. Okay? See, so it's not just having a tangible, I don't work on mobile homes, and we don't. Okay? We're focusing on, if we're going to build a $10 million business, we're probably going to do in increments of $2 million a contract minimum. Okay? The higher the contract value, the less amount of clients per year, the better the business will be. But we've got to crawl before we can walk, right? So, having that intuition will money loves speed. So if I've got to get through, 10 leads to find one, the more efficient my program is, the better my intuition is and my gut feel is, the quicker I'll get to a deal. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Repeated patterns train you to notice problems earlier. It's funny, I've heard, there was a guy in Australia who was a bit of a business coach guy, and Alex Hormozy talks a little bit about this too. It's pattern recognition. And the more I would embrace that theory, there is definitely this repetition to what it is that we do. Clients generally behave the same way. So it becomes predictable because it's pattern. But if you don't recognize the pattern, both good and bad, you've got to know, look, if I go down this track, this is what's going to happen. Now, to give you an idea, and I'll try and be very vague because I don't want to insult anybody, but, I've been involved in a project where I'm dealing with the client, but the client's got their own designer. So there's no reason why it shouldn't have been a little bit more pleasant than it has been. However, that human does what they do, the way they do it. So going forward, I don't like that pattern. I don't like how that went. And that's my fault. Super easy. Cop it in the mouth and just get on with it, right? And this is why when you're sort of looking at it, you're like, all right, if I go and do that again, the potential for things to get squirrely, or what's the word? For things to get sort of a little bit messy is possible because I don't have control. Again, if the client is dealing with a builder and the client is dealing with a designer and the client is dealing with an architect, all of a sudden that client now essentially is your proxy general contractor and you are just another person waiting in line for your plate full of food. So the value starts to dissipate in the eyes of the client about you. So for me, I quickly recognized that was a mistake. And I said to Jed, we'll never do that again. If a client came to me and said, I want you to do a $10 million job and I've got my own designer, I'm not even doing it. It's like a flat, hard no. Let someone else do it. Because the amount of grievance that went into trying to sustain my own mental peace. And I felt like I was always in the way, or I was probably, after initially, now I'm just doing some introspection and thinking about where I lost control. That bothered me because I realized what I'd done. So it's why it's so important that we start recognizing those patterns as early on as possible and then make the corrections that are going to help us. Okay, metrics, obviously site evaluations and reviews sharpen your instinct into insights. And so, I think a lot of the time we for me, being a hardcore educationalist, where I'm listening to John Maxwell, audiobooks and a lot of other, podcasts and things like that, I'm all about trying to get that information, not because I want to hoard that, but I want to use that and I want to then execute, because ideas are shit, execution is the game. Right, so at the end of the day, how does, if we've got into the habit of detecting early, we've developed a sixth sense, how does that support our business growth? Well, what the result is essentially is less fires in your business. So there's less surprises. You've got more of a control over what happens throughout the week. And, it's very much, I think, a lot of the time I'll use the example that if you're in a fast food outlet and you walk into my restaurant and the whole place has got 20 or 30 people in there and it's not organized behind the counter here, people that come in last are probably going to turn around and walk out. Okay, so what we're trying to do is systemize the business so that we can process efficiently. So the opposite of that is it's a mess. It's a business by default, not by design. And so, if you said to me, well, what's a business by design look like? A business by design looks like this. We spend a predictable amount of money on marketing. We know that we get 20 inquiries a month. We know that out of that 20 inquiries, we probably sign up between 2 to 4 jobs. And we know that our average contract value is whatever it is, and it's changing, and we're only early days with Smith & Sons Coldstream. But I know that, some of the builders, if they do 4 contracts a year and they do $4 million, the average contract value is $1 million. So, it's predictability. It's making sure that I'm not frantic next month because I've got no leads. How come I've got no leads? Well, because I'm not investing in marketing consistently. And I'm not maybe investing the right amount of money consistently in marketing. Or my messaging is ordinary because it's too much right hook, too much call to action, too much commission breath. You're not demonstrating value. You're not educating. You're not informing. You're not entertaining. Okay? And like I said at the start, if you want to go and check out Smith & Sons Coldstream on Facebook, or Instagram, you can sort of see one of our latest videos where we're just talking about this large project that we're doing. Okay, now here's the kicker. We're talking about business growth. Now, I don't want your business to grow too fast and you to be dragging the chain. That's why I need you to go and visit elitebusinessadvisory.com/academy, and I need you to invest in yourself. There's good information, there's good video type stuff there as well as resources. And the reason we want to do that is because you've got to improve your capacity, increase your capacity, because predictability in your business, so order, you know what it does? It increases your confidence, which then enables you to take on bigger contracts. So if you're saying, well, I'm a $300,000, guy that does bathrooms and kitchens, that's all I can do. Odds on is you're the bottleneck. I'm the bottleneck in my business. The sooner that I can recognize where my deficiencies are, and that's hard to do by yourself, so, in an hour, 12:30, 1:30, in an hour, I've got a meeting with my mentor, my coach, okay? Retired Navy SEAL. If you want to meet him, go to episode 200, Dom, I think it was. Episode 200, and you can have a look at me and Coach Mac chatting about whatever we were chatting about that day. And, it's important because, sometimes as a reasonably successful general contractor, as a podcaster and a YouTuber and a business coach guy, you can get high on your own. I can get high on my own supply. And I start to think more highly of myself than I should. And so what I need is to someone to maybe give me a little bit of a slap in the face and go, dude, you're really talking shit. Now, who better for me, if you talk to my family and I'm pretty full on, and I make no apologies for that. But I need to ensure that I'm picking someone that is durable, that's got good experience, someone that can tell it to me straight, and somebody that I respect. That's a big deal. Okay, and so, for me, Coach Mac, he's the guy. So maybe we'll get him on the 300th episode again, who knows? Okay, so predictability increases the confidence, which helps you take on larger projects. When I walk into a home down the road from the office and look at this project, I'm so calm, and I talk to us, you talk to the client and I say, look, we've got this project over here and it's 7-figure contract and it's about 9 months. And this client says to me, well, this is about the same. I like the job, I like the guy, and he's talking about money. Let's go. Easy peasy. Because I'm not there, oh, please, sir, give me the job. Just tell him what we do. And they can go on social media and find us and see everything that's going on. So, I think when you've got clients that feel like they have already gotten to know you, then you can walk in there without being arrogant, be confident, be serving. I'm here to serve the client, and makes it easier to do a deal. Okay. Growth happens when systems replace constant reaction. Anything that's got to be done more than twice should be systemized, should have an SOP. All right. And look, it's one thing to go and write SOPs because we've got AI, so we can write SOPs till they're coming out of our yin yang. Right, now grab those and deploy them across your organization. I'll tell you what, that's the hard part, because doing that is like trying to round up kittens. It's a big challenge, okay? So look, I think that's in a nutshell, I think for today, is all about forecasting the direction of the business, understanding where the pitfalls might be that right now are just problems. And if we leave it go or we let that linger, they become emergencies. And that it either gets our attention in a state of calm where you go, okay, I've got that, or it will demand your attention when it has got to be solved yesterday. Okay. So, this is just something to think about. Maybe it's not relevant to you right now, but, knowledge is not hard to carry around. So just file it and go, all right, I've got to work on forecasting where there might be pitfalls in the business. And that's where I talk about virtual reality and stress testing the business, doing that SWOT analysis off the back of your organizational plan where, hey, where's people going to be? If we put a person there, is that going to create an issue? Okay. Always important, right? So great builders don't just solve problems. They see them coming. And I think that's where we get to a point. The problem you might have right now is that you've already got all of these issues that are turned into emergencies. And that is a challenge, because you have got to stop the bleeding. You've got to stop that conveyor belt, and you've got to start cleaning house, whatever that looks like for you. If that is you, I want to encourage you that it's just, you've got to take it one day at a time, because if you try to short circuit it or shortcut it, I'm amazed when people come to me and say, well, Max, I've been doing this 15 years. I've got all these problems and I need you to sort it out. I need you to sort it out in 3 months. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. So don't forget, if you're in that phase where you go, I've got to get more than just this free stuff that I'm getting on YouTube and podcast, and I need something with a bit more teeth, and I want to see if I'm committed to my own development personally, get across elitebusinessadvisory.com/academy. And if you want to book time with me, I would absolutely hit the yellow button. I just updated it this week. Book your free consultation with yours truly, and get across and find a time. Make sure you're in the right time zone. And let's get after it. It's early 2026, and it's all about me changing and developing and getting better, because I'm telling you, the marketplace is out there. You've just got to link the dots. I've got to connect with the marketplace, and I've got to be the person ready to take on greater opportunities every day, every week, every month. Thanks for hanging with me. Go build a kick-ass business. See you in the next episode. Cheers.